Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Stitchin Post. I'm Nancy, and I'm here with Val for Knitting with Nancy, and I want to show you one of our newest yarns that is, I've always loved Manos. I don't know what it took us so long to bring it back in, but here we are, and I'm just loving these new kits. Val is going to swing by and show you. This is Fino. It's an extra fine merino and silk base. These are their mini skeins. It's a total of approximately 490 yards. The gauge is on a US 3 to 5. And as you see, you get 5 mini skeins. And then we pulled in the regular, or I should say the bigger hanks, again of Fino. And these have the 490 yards of one color. And the pattern that they designed to go with this that I'm going to show you today is called Opalite. And the first thing you're going to notice when you touch and feel this yarn is the luxury, the squishability of it, and it just feels beautiful. It is a single ply. Two things about that. One, this yarn will felt beautifully even with the silk. It won't be a full felt if you wanted to use it for a different pattern or something, but it feels beautiful. This pattern is a really neat and interesting pattern I'm going to discuss. I'm going to swing this around to start. You start right here. And I left this on a holder to show. Excuse me. You start with casting on 6 stitches and you knit back, and then you join your first contrast color. Now when you get your 5 colors, you pick how you want it to show. There is no right or wrong. But what you want to think about is you have the beginnings. It wraps around in a circle. So think about how it's going to look rotating around. And in the beginning, when I first started this and I put my circle together, I had it this way because looking at it at a straight line, I liked how it started with a deep color and ended with a deep color, or saturated, my verbiage is. But when I pulled it this way, I didn't care for how these two would butt up against one another. I wanted something in between. Now, because I had already started my repeats, and I was down to here and into this one, I didn't want to rip back. So this had to be the way it was, because who wants to rip out once you've started? So I just swapped these last 2. So it would put this in between these. And I like it. But you might like the way these butt up against each other. So again, there's no right or wrong. It's what you as the customer likes. And I really want to pull that forward. So every 2 rows, you're switching colors. And on here, we are doing make one. Oops.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you start here and then you've progressed this way, but then this side's a lot longer.
That's what I'm confused. I want everybody to stop right here at this purple as if it doesn't even exist yet. Because if you look, this is a triangle. So this is where we're starting in the center here, and we're increasing. And you can see my increases along these lines. So it's a knit 2 and make 1 right, and you have make 1 lefts, and a center, what I'm going to call my center spine. Then what's really, really cool about the pattern, so let's come to this page now. Here's the beginning, and here's that triangle that I'm talking about. Let's stop right here, follow my fingers across. And then you are going on the bias. Now, for those who are sewers, the bias, if you think about it, is cross-cutting a 45-degree angle. And that's exactly, if I pull this out, can we now see that this is at an angle?
Mm-hmm.
So it is taking this and going out from one direction, keeping with it as if this doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the bias the whole way. Later, once I'm done with this side, this is on a holder, and again I'm on the bias already.
Mm-hmm.
How ingenious is that?
So you only increase stitches to get till you get to that triangle, and then you're just, even though you're...
Then we're going to start a new pattern.
Uh-huh.
And it talks about, and it very clearly is written, the increased pattern in the triangle is knit 2, make 1 right, before the marker make 1 left, and then repeat on the other side. So you're increasing 4 stitches each right side row.
Mm-hmm.
When we go to the bias pattern, we are increasing at the beginning of the row, knit 2, make 1 right, and at the other end, think about it, if I want to keep the same number of stitches, that means at the other side, I have to knit 2 together, knit 2. And so you get this little jog here, which mimics this.
Gotcha.
Thus putting it on the bias. Now, whoops, I just lost my little snippet of yarn that I had pulled off. I left it on. What I want to show you today, and Val is going to assist me.
I'm gonna go get you
and show me, is if I turn to the back, and I'm going to show you my wrong side, there would be a lot of loose ends to knit in. I don't like knitting in ends. Now, my main color is always pulled up the side. And again, I'm going to show you how to do that. But I'm constantly changing these because you only do that color 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So Val is going to come behind me. I'm going to turn this over so she can see, and we can come up really close. These are my weaved in, ends. So you can see every one they kind of disappear.
But it's consistent.
It's consistent. But I don't want to end up with all these stragglers at the end and feel overwhelmed that I have to knit in threads, because that's just icky. It's a good knitting term, icky. Okay, so I'm just going to take one to pretend. So let's say, now, and I want to do this over the dark or actually over white, if that's easier to see. Whenever I'm changing colors along here, I'm always pulling the color from below to the front and over the other color. Be consistent. It will give a nice edge weaving in so you don't notice. So now, I'm starting with my new color as what I'm going to wrap around. But here's the color I'm switching to. I'm going to put in a row of a new color. So I'm coming under the existing yarn, which I must apologize because let's pretend this would have been the white. Come under the existing yarn with my tail. And as I knit through, so here's my tail of what was. I'm going to wrap this old, pretend it's the old yarn, over the working yarn and knit through my stitch. Come through the next stitch, again, wrap it over the working yarn, knit through. Now I'm going to make one right. So I pull that loop up to the center with the right leg in front, pull through it. Again, here's the yarn that I'm knitting with. My old yarn is going to come up and over, and I'm knitting through. Again, knit through the next stitch. And you're going to keep knitting like this. And notice I am not knitting continental. And the reason why is it's easier to wrap around, for me at least, not knitting continental and swinging. Because I'm constantly wrapping that yarn up and over. If I chose to knit, if you are a continental knitter, again, it's the same thing. Up and over, pick through. Again, and it's just awkward for me to do continental. Now, something that's important. Because I am pulling this stitch, and if Val can get up close, that dark purple through, I don't want to pull it tight. So I want to make sure I kind of yank my stitches open a little. Because if I don't, and I keep doing this, and my tension gets tight, watch what's going to happen later. As I pull, and I'm pulling that dark purple too tight, it's going to yank those stitches together and change my gauge. So you want to kind of spread them out a little. And it also will help this lie in the back. And look how nice that looks. Now I normally go about 3 to 4 inches.
With your tail.
With my tail. And I usually leave about this much hanging out that I don't cut for a couple of rows. And I don't cut because as my hands are moving this,
it's nesting.
It's nesting it in. And then if you see, then I've snipped this very close. Here's, for instance, that purple. And if you come through, you'll see those little ends. And they're kind of just nestled in there. And because this is single ply, it's sticky in an odd way. And it rests in there really nicely. But weaving in your ends as you go really helps you later on not hate me as much.
Because that's a lot of color change.
It's a lot of color change, but look how beautiful this is.
So pretty.
It's really pretty, and we have to thank Val's mom, Jean, because she picked this pattern. Show her the ones she picked, because this was hers with the gold yarn. So thank you, Jean, because even though I had just found this as trying to bring it in, and one of the reasons why we love Manos is this is a fair trade company owned exclusively by women. And I really like that, that it's helping people. And that's kind of what the store is about and what Val's about. And trying to be sustainable and to help others. And that's what I feel we're doing with Manos. But it was just so funny, the day I was bringing it to Val, Jean brought it in and said, have you seen this yarn? And it just shows how much we're all on the same page here at the Stitchin Post. So check out our website, check out the different colors, and I'll see you again soon, because the next one we're gonna talk about is my favorite company and knitting supplies, which is Coco Knits. So stay tuned for another video from the Stitchin Post and Knitting with Nancy. Bye-bye.